If your team got guaranteed money, tell them call me.
Whoop. Make me say, my. I done been around the world.
Yeah, I was made for this.
Player Performance with J.A. Cavalier.
Yes, sir. We are back in the building. It is Player Performance, college football, week 11 edition. Season's going fast. We got our first college football playoff rankings out there. And, of course, my Irish are ranked number 10, but who cares? It's just the first rankings. Then we'll shuffle around. But we are here to talk about week 11 ball. I am Gunz CFB, joined as always. It is Coach Rick. What's going on, my friend? How you doing on this beautiful recording Wednesday?
Wonderful. It's a beautiful day. Great to be alive. Beats the alternative, as I like to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned the first poll comes out. It's going to be nothing. It won't look anything like that when we're all said and done. Never does. But there's a couple of games that we'll talk about today, probably going to have an impact on those rankings, even just next week. So we'll dive into these. We'll give you guys a bunch of great picks, some insight, some knowledge you can use so you can attack this weekend's college football.
Yeah, I went and looked back at the picks from last week. I think it was like 6-2 if you took the leans and everything like that. I think we were pretty much aligned on everything. So we did really good last week, and I think most of the outliers hit. I know I went 2-0 on mine. I can't remember on yours anyways, but it doesn't matter. It would have been cash and tickets if you just followed this show, hit the like button, get into the comment section, and away we go into the first game. Speaking of implicating games for the college football playoff, let's get to the first one. Right off the gate, BYU going against Texas Tech in Jones A&T Stadium. Lubbock, Texas, 12 p.m. is going to be the kick, and you have a team that is ranked higher than the other team. However, the home team is a double-digit favorite against you. What? I've been saying this BYU team consistently is on borrowed time, and BYU Cougars, well, they keep kicking me in the you-know-what, telling me it's not this time. 8-0 on the year, coming off a bye week, well-rested, well-prepared. And Texas Tech is 7-1 on the year off a road win versus Kansas State. But I'll pass it to you, Coach. What do you think of this game, BYU, Texas Tech?
Didn't we just have this game? It just reminds me of, it was last week. It was Cincinnati and Utah.
Same color. Almost, really.
And I still remember, I'm sitting here thinking, and I said it, I'm leaning towards Cincinnati. That's too many points. They're good. They're blah blah blah. And by the time the week was over, I'm like, nah, they're going to get their ass kicked, and they did. So Utah was a 10-point favorite, 9.5, whatever it was, and they won the game 45-10. Cincinnati's still a good football team, but the books told you, and they're telling you right here. It opened at 9.5. I mean, even at opening, I was like, wow, really? But Texas Tech has had great success recently as a home dog, especially a home dog of double digits. Home favorite.
Right.
But anyway, these are two teams, give you a quick breakdown, two teams that are built a lot alike. Both teams can score. Both teams play great defense. Texas Tech is one of two teams in the country that's ranked in the top 10 in scoring offense, scoring defense, total offense, and total defense. The other team is one that we will get to a little bit later. It's one of the teams we'll talk about here. But Texas Tech, fourth in the country, almost 44 points a game. They do it a little bit different than BYU. They're going to throw the ball quite a bit. Baron Morton is back, healthy. The kid can sling it. They're an air raid team primarily, and they're going to beat you with the pass. They can run the football, but their offensive line, they do a better job in pass protection than they do, trying to run inside and outside zone. Inside zone's really their bread and butter when they run the ball. BYU, on the other hand, they're going to come at you with the run. That's what they do. They average 216, a little over 216 per game on the ground. L.J. Martin's the leading rusher. He left the game last week. He's banged up. What I read today is he's going to play. Has almost 800 yards rushing, and he's their guy. Bear Bachmeier's the QB. 400 plus yards rushing, 9 touchdowns. He can beat you with his legs if you let him. He can also beat you in the air. He's got another 11 TDs throwing, completes about 63% of his passes. So he can beat you there too. Defensively, I think the edge defensively goes to Texas Tech because BYU's actually been banged up. And if you don't know the name Jack Kelly, you probably don't because you might not pay attention to BYU too much. But Jack Kelly's an NFL linebacker, 100%. Like the dude's a freaking stud. He actually left last week's game as well. From what I read, he's going to play. We'll see how long he lasts, but he's banged up. They had a safety. Kid's name's Raider Dumani. Sorry. He is. I'm pretty sure he's going to be back, but I don't think he's 100%. They got another linebacker that I read. He's probably going to play as well. He's not a starter, but plays quite a bit. So defensively, I think because of some of the injuries, I think Texas Tech has the advantage. Plus, God, they're just damn good. They're top 5 in the country in points allowed. So while they're beating the shit out of you throwing a ball, they're also not letting you into the end zone. So classic game between two really good teams, but I think the books are trying to tell you, hey, look, Texas Tech's at home, and we really like them. They've covered 4 straight as a double-digit favorite. They are number 2 in the nation in average scoring margin, 8-1 against the spread, last 9, 5-0 ATS at home. Like, it's just really a no-brainer. Like, I could have ended this at the beginning and just said, hey, the books are telling you at -9.5 and -10 that you just got to take Texas Tech.
Yeah, let's get matching hats on this. We have to. This is everything that you want to know about the line. I mean, you have a team that is just ranked slightly lower than the other one, but playing at home, and it's not a short line here. And I felt like the books were going to continue to get aggressive with BYU as far as making them a heavier dog, baiting you to take this plus dog money with BYU. This ain't the spot here. This Texas Tech team is just all around good. Elite offense, grid defensive play. Coach mentioned the offensive performance there, especially getting Baron Morton back in the lineup. Defensively, they're 5th in opposing points per game, 6th in opposing yards per play, 10th in the country in opposing yards per game. And while this BYU team, they're undefeated, their numbers are not as strong as what people think. They're 36th in offensive scoring, 43rd in yards per game, 34th in yards per play, and they're 74th in third down conversion percentage. The defense, like top 20, top 40 in a lot of key statistics, but the key statistic that they've been excelling at is not giving up points. They're bend, not break. They're 6th in the country in opposing red zone percentage. So they're getting lucky with these teams getting into scoring range and not giving up a lot of points. And here's how lucky they've been. If you go look at the last 2 games, they played Utah. They gave up 479 yards of total offense to them in their win. 495 yards given up to Iowa State. Lost the yardage battle in both, -102, -85, but they won the turnover battle. +2 turnover ratio against Utah, and then +4 turnover ratio against Iowa State. That's what made the difference in those games. This is the largest line of the year here being BYU as a dog. First time they've been a double-digit dog all year. And you mentioned how they excel as a favorite. They excel Texas Tech excels as a favorite. 6-0 ATS is a double-digit favorite this season. So when the numbers are high here for Texas Tech, they go and they take care of business. They're also 5-0 ATS at home. This is just borrowed time here with BYU. They've gotten extremely lucky escaping these game outliers, which is the turnover ratio. I just think that team is just banged up, and the line is kind of in that position where they're telling you they're banged up, and this Texas Tech team's going to be rip-roaring, ready to go and thump them. Red Raiders, baby. Give it to me. -10 as the play. Let's go into some SEC action with the Texas A&M Aggies, who are playing exceptional ball, undefeated on the year, going against Missouri at Memorial Stadium in Columbia, Missouri. 3:30 p.m. is going to be the kick on this one Saturday. You have both teams coming off a bye, well-rested and well-prepared, but playoff implications on the line here, and Texas A&M is the favorite on the road. Not going to have Prebula as the quarterback, going with a freshman on this one with Matt Zollers. And He's played pretty well so far, but is this going to be a matchup that is too much for the young true freshman? Or are they going to be able to keep it close? I'll pass it to you, Coach Rick. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know that it's too much for him, but it is. I just have a hard time with the true freshman first start playing the number 3 team in the country. I mean, God, it's got to be tough. But it's interesting, Perbula dislocated an ankle, which I mean that's not good, especially it's a non-fracture injury, which is really rare. So he's going to be out. It's at least 6 to 9 weeks. Somebody was saying, maybe a bowl game. It's like, no, he's not playing a bowl. He won't play in a bowl game anyway, just because it's not worth it. Because Missouri's not going to make the playoffs. They've got 2 losses already. Lost last time. In the game they lost Perbula. They lost to Vanderbilt. Zollers, like you said, played well. 14 out of 23, threw for 138 yards. He threw for a touchdown, which was Missouri's only touchdown in the game. They only scored 10 points. What I find interesting, I mentioned this to Gunz before we started. Bo Perbula went to Central York High School in Pennsylvania. Matt Zoller is actually from Pennsylvania too. He went to Springford High School, which is in Montgomery County, which I had told Gunz borders Lower Marion Township, which is where Kobe Bryant's from. But also, I'm going to bring this up because I don't think a lot of people know. Matt Zollers was not the original number 2 quarterback at Missouri. It was actually a kid named Sam Horn, who we saw when he was a senior in high school. He played at Collins Hill High School in Georgia. We saw him playing a early season kind of showcase thing down at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. And the kid's good, 6'4", live arm, really good athlete. And such a good athlete. He's actually in the Dodgers organization as a pitcher, and you may see him playing Major League Baseball someday. His better sport's probably baseball, but outstanding quarterback. He got hurt early, so now it's on Zollers. So I bring that up because there's no depth behind him. Every other quarterback on Missouri's roster is a walk-on, including Drew Lock's nephew. So he's not, and I don't think he's the number 2, but he's on the roster, and he's one of the 4 guys that could end up in this game. I mean, Zollers goes down, like Missouri's hurting, and I like I said, I don't expect him to giddy up, but I expect him to lean heavily on Ahmad Hardy. If Missouri wants to win this game, and I don't think they can, but if they want to have a shot, they're going to run the football. They're number 10 in the country, 235 yards a game. Ahmad Hardy's the leading rusher in the SEC, closing in on 1,000. Missouri's 5th in the country in time of possession. They keep the ball for almost 35 minutes a game. When you do that, you keep it away from the opposing offense, and Texas A&M is pretty damn good offensively. And really, A&M's better offensively than they are defensively, which is kind of uncharacteristic for a Mike Elko team. Because Mike Elko is a hell of a defensive mind. But A&M, number 11 in the country, almost 38 points a game. Top 35 versus, run offense, pass offense. Marcel Reed, almost 2,000 yards passing. He can beat you with his feet, too. I think he has 6 touchdowns rushing, 350 or so yards on the ground. They won't have one of the running backs. They won't have, I believe it's Moss that's out. Owens will play. But, that offense, I mentioned it before when we talked about A&M. They were the number 1 scoring team in SEC games last year. So far this year, they're averaging 35 points a game in their SEC games. So, I don't know how, like if Texas A&M, if Reed and, if they just start lighting it up, I don't know how Missouri keeps up with that. Because like I said, I don't have a lot of faith in a true freshman quarterback making his first start, especially in an SEC game. I know he's at home, but if they can't run the football and keep the ball away from Texas A&M, I don't see it happening. The big thing you got to look at, just look at your line, lines from last year, this year. A&M was 2.5 point favorite last year, and they were playing at home. Now they're going on the road. They're playing at Missouri, which that's a tough place to play. Like they're, Drinkwitz is a great coach, and they're a good home team. But even last year, Elko took his team up there, Elko welcomed Missouri to College Station, and served them up a can of whoop ass, 41-10. So this year the line opens at 5.5. They're on the road. Freshman QB, first start. And the total, I don't know. Did you see the total? It's dropped like 5 or 6 points already. So I think that's a reflection of, hey, we don't trust a freshman quarterback playing against this SEC defense. I don't think they expect Missouri to score a lot. So I'm leaning on Texas A&M laying the points here. I'm thinking about the under just because of the line movement. It's kind of it's telling you, and I think that's because of Missouri. So I'm keeping my eye on Missouri's team total. Right now it's at 20.5. They only scored 10 points last week, and that was against a pretty good Vanderbilt defense. And I know Texas A&M isn't up to what seems to be the standard of an Elko defense, but they're still pretty damn good defensively. So keep an eye on the Missouri team total as well.
Yeah, I gotta make another hat switch. I'm all over these Texas.
There we go.
I mean, you said a lot of it there, especially like when you talk about that line structure there, right? You had them as a 2.5 point favorite at home last year, and now you're seeing them as a more of a favorite. But you look at the line structure of the total. If you're scratching your head on this one, it's not like the total shifted at all. Actually, the total is pretty much where it was last year, around 48, 48.5, but it did dip to 47 at close. So, yeah, it was kind of gearing towards an under. However, it did go over in that game because they hit 41-10. But, yeah, both teams are coming off the bye, so you can scratch who's got the most rest and preparation. They both do. Yeah, the quarterback situation is probably why the line is what it is, how it opened up. But this Missouri offense, you said it, wants to run the football. They're 6th in rushing attempts in the country, and they're 7th in rushing yards per game. They're 16th in rushing yards per carry. This is what they do. But you look at that Texas A&M defense; they can stop the run. 3.9 yards per carry given up to opponents. 11th in opposing rushing attempts. Not a lot of people want to run against this team. 120 opposing rushing yards per game as well. So they don't really give a lot up in the run. So you're going to have to see this young freshman quarterback probably. Mike Elko will deal up some blitzes, put some pressure on this kid if they get these 3rd and long situations and really test the freshman. You said these two teams did meet last year. The line structure really doesn't meet how we cap these games. It's gearing towards a Texas A&M spot. Texas A&M is 4-1 ATS in their last 5 as a conference road favorite. They're also 8-1-1 as a single-digit favorite as well. So they're on a little bit of a tear when it comes to being in this type of line structure position. And Missouri's already 0-2 ATS as a dog this year, but this is the largest they've been a dog, which makes sense because if you don't have Prebula, who, by the way, shouldn't be a big line mover. It's not like he was a Heisman hopeful going into this game. He was more of a game manager, kind of just structurally, methodically driving the ball down the field, handing the ball off to the running backs and just letting them do work. I just don't think you're going to be doing it to this Texas A&M team that is primed and ready. Coming off a season where it was a little bit more of a disappointment to them. Right off the gate, get beat by Notre Dame, and it kind of carried over. But this game was like a staple game for them last year to get ranked versus ranked. And this is going to be another one of those games they're set up here, primed and ready. I trust Elko in year 2, and that Texas A&M team is just thumping along. Give me Texas A&M -7. That's the only way I would play this game. All right, let's go into the next game here. Let's go into some Big Ten action here in Connect. Iowa is the place to be. Iowa City, for that matter. At 3:30 is going to be the game on Saturday. And let's see if the kids waving at the cancer hospital are going to be enough to beat these Oregon Mighty Ducks, who are going to come in with some electric uniforms, I'm sure. But you have Oregon coming off the bye week. You have Iowa coming off a bye week as well. So the preparation is the same. But there's a little bit of a short line here for a team that is 6-2 on the year versus a team that's 7-1 on the road. We know about these West Coast teams traveling, but it hasn't mattered to Oregon. Is this one of the spots? Do we just jump on the favorite on the road, or is this the spot finally? Iowa is going to get it done versus the Ducks. I'll pass it to you, Rick. What do you think?
Well, this is why you watch this show. because everybody forgot about Iowa. Like we all forgot about it. I mean, I kind of did myself. They lost Iowa State in the rivalry game early. It was tight, 16-13. I think we backed the over or under in that, and we cashed that, of course. But they lost that game, and since that loss, they're 5-1. And the only loss is to the number 2 team in the country, which nobody's beaten.
Yep.
But that's a game, and I'll talk more about it in a moment. But that's a game. Iowa held Indiana to 20 points. Like, this is a legit freaking defense. So there's a couple things that are going to play into this. But here's why you watch this show, because you're gonna look at this and be like, oh, Oregon, minus 6.5, 7. Oh, geez. I don't care about travel. They traveled and they beat the shit out of, whoever it was. I don't even remember. Or do I care? But Oregon, let's lather them up, right? 41 points a game, 9th best rushing offense, 237 yards a game. They turn around, hand the ball to whoever, and they just run for freaking ever. They are the other team that I mentioned, when we did BYU Texas Tech. Texas Tech and Oregon are the 2 teams in the nation this year ranked in the top 10 in scoring offense, scoring defense, total defense. They're damn good. There's no way. Iowa's 6-2. It's Iowa. They can't do anything. They can't score. They can't throw. They could blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. Okay? Iowa can't throw the ball. I thought Mark Gronowski would be a hell of a lot better than he is, but that doesn't matter either. Because Iowa wins games doing 2 things. 1, they run the football. 2, they play outstanding, tremendous championship-style defense. So go to the Iowa, go to the box scores, and you're looking like, oh, man, they just beat the shit out of Minnesota. But they only had 274 total yards. How the hell did that happen? So you got to dig deep. So, look, not only do they beat people running the ball and playing great defense, you have to consider some of the things that they do that you don't see in a box or whatever. Probably no one really knows the name Matt Weegen. And if you haven't seen this kid, look him up on YouTube and this kid is unbelievable. So if Oregon kicks the ball to Matt Weegen, they are absolutely, his name's Caden Weegen. They are absolutely just dumb. Caden Weegen has 3 kick return touchdowns this season. 1 kickoff return, 2 punt return touchdowns. Somebody says, and I don't believe this stuff until I have the watch, but apparently they've timed him under 4.2 and a 40. Now, I don't believe that until I time him. I will say the kid's freaking fast as hell. So at Iowa, there's a kid named Kalen Walker on the track team. I know this crap because we do speed training and all this shit, and I'm a track guy and blah, blah, blah. But Kalen Walker is a world-class sprinter who has run under 10 seconds in 100 meters. He's run under 20 seconds in the 200. And Kalen Walker got his ass kicked, ass beat by Caden Weegen in an Iowa State 200-meter final. That's how fast this kid is. So not only do they run the ball, play defense, blah, 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 they do some other things, okay? So the return game is outstanding. When they beat Minnesota, they had an interception return for a touchdown. A lot of the stuff doesn't show up in, some of these stats. So keep that in mind. I'll mention one thing about Oregon and Dante Moore, just because, he's from here and, I coached against him way back in the day. Dante Moore will struggle when there are 2 high safeties. So whatever coverage you're going to play, it could be straight 2 high, 5 under. It's 5 under man. It could be a combo. It could be cover 6, some kind of cover 4 match, whatever. When there's 2 high safeties, he tends to struggle for whatever reason. I don't know. But I would imagine that Iowa is going to do some things where, they mask their coverages a little bit, and then they try to show him some 2 high, or maybe show him 1 and then rotate to 2, or we'll see. But keep an eye on that because that could be a factor in this game. But this game comes down to, I think, 3 things. 1 is the Kinnick factor. If you have ever been to Iowa and been to Niall Kinnick Stadium, I have. I've been in the locker room. It's pink. Okay, so like it's painted entirely pink. Back in the day, Hayden Fry was a coach there. Before Ferentz, he was a psychology graduate, had a degree, and learned about colors and how they affect moods. So you had the visiting locker room painted pink, still there. So teams now, they send their equipment guys like 2 days early, and they try to cover all that crap because they think it has some kind of effect, whatever. But just playing there, like just going to Iowa to play them at Kinnick Stadium, it's tough. It's tough for every team in the Big Ten. They call it the Kinnick factor for a reason, right? So you got to deal with that. 2, weather. If you haven't checked the weather forecast, like we're at the point of the year now in November where, it's cold. The temperatures will probably be in the 40s, which isn't terrible, but it is supposed to rain. So there's a 60 to 70% chance of rain at game time. So that's going to be a big deal. And then the biggest deal is going to be the wind. So they're expecting winds in the 20 to 25 mile an hour range. So that's going to be the biggest factor. So with all that said, for me, I think this is a spot where Iowa has the advantage. I don't know if they can win the game, but they are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6. They thrive as a home underdog, and this game's total went from 43.5. I see 40 and 40.5 now. And I would play the under, and I'm all over Iowa at plus 6.5 because I think they keep this game close and surprise everyone because we all forgot about them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I did the same, Cap. I mean, I'm just writing the same notes. I mean,
Sorry to steal your thunder, but that was the game that I would.
No, I got a little bit more to talk about, believe it or not. Like you broke down a lot of the stuff. I didn't have the pink locker rooms in my notes, of course. A little bit more box score reading, but yeah, I mean, this is an Iowa spot. Yeah, we forgot about Iowa, and it's because they don't dazzle anybody with their scoring. They go in there, and I went back and looked at the last 3 or 4 years. This is arguably statistically the best Iowa defense that has come out in the last 5.
Phenomenal.
I mean, they are just absolutely green numbers, keeping teams. And you mentioned that Minnesota game. There's a reason why they won that game 41-3. It wasn't because of their offense. It's because of the fact they held Minnesota to 103 total offensive yards and had a +3 turnover ratio in the game. That's how you win those games. But you have this Oregon team that is going to be the test of the year for them. Well, I mean, Indiana was kind of a test too, but they held them to 20 points. Fourth in opposing yards per game. They're actually their defense, not too shabby. They're 11th in third down conversion rate, 3rd in opposing yards per play, 2nd in opposing yards per game. So don't sleep on this Oregon offense. It kind of predicates to the under as well. Then you have Iowa. Defense is just stout. I mean, Coach talked about a lot of the stats. 3rd in opposing yards per game, 2nd in opposing yards per play, 5th in opposing yards per game. Iowa's team is a team that wants to establish the run. I mean, they have Kamari Moulton, and they also have Mark Gronowski, who's basically their second best runner, and leads the team in touchdowns. He has 11 rushing touchdowns this season, and the nearest guy is Xavier Williams, who has 3. And guess who has the only receiving touchdown? It's Weegan. He's the only one that has a receiving touchdown out of the wide receivers. It's pretty astounding as far as what the team wants to do. Most teams do try to run the ball against most teams try to run the ball against their defense, but it's still one of the toughest defenses in the country. That's what I'm going to say about that. Then you bring up the opponent factor between these two teams. The common opponent is Indiana. That's the barometer. They did play Penn State, but when you play 2 levels of Penn State, it's really hard to read. Then you have Iowa, lost by 5 at home, minus 53 net yard average, -1 turnover ratio, 284 yards of total offense in that game. Oregon lost by 10 at home, -59 net yard average, -1 turnover ratio, only 267 yards of total offense. And if you can get to Dante Moore and put pressure on him, there's 2 teams that were very successful at that. It was Wisconsin last week, they held them to just 21 points altogether, but Wisconsin can't do anything. They're just an awful team on both sides of the ball. And it was Indiana. So they had 4 sacks, and I think Wisconsin had 6. So if you can get a few sacks on him, that's going to put pressure on Dante Moore, and I don't think he's going to be able to get it done. And you mentioned some of the trends on this one. 10-3-1 ATS, last 14 as a single-digit dog. This team is on a little bit of a tear. They're playing at home. They're playing at Kinnick, and this place is going to be rocking. And this is not the easiest place to play in the world, like Coach said. It is basically predicated to murder their opponents, and by God, why not murder somebody like the Oregon Ducks and kick them out of the playoff? They already have, 1 loss under their belt, Indiana. 2 might be too much. Give me Iowa here, plus 6.5, and by God, might as well sprinkle a little bit on the money line while you're at it. All right, let's go to the next game on the board. All right, yes, I am playing heart attack every time I watch this team play. They did not play well against BC, but we have a game where the line is kind of set really high for the Notre Dame side. That still makes me nervous. They're playing at Notre Dame Stadium at night in South Bend, Indiana on Saturday. This is a rivalry as old as time, probably since they were wearing leatherheads. Actually, it probably is. But you have the 2 teams kind of going in a weird direction, because you have Notre Dame as a minus 26.5 point favorite against a 7-1 team in the AAC. I'll pass it to you, Coach. Why the hell is Notre Dame a big favorite? Can they cover, or is this a Navy spot?
I'll tell you right now off the bat, I don't want any part of it. And if I'm going to play this game, I'm going to get to what I'm going to play if I do. I just I get it. They were 14-point favorites last year, I think, on the road. Now that the books, hey, we're going to double that. And
I was neutral. They had 3 straight neutral.
Oh, that's right. They played in Dublin, didn't they?
Yeah, not Dublin. I can't remember where they played last year.
Somewhere.
They always play around the country, though. If it's Navy, if it's a home and home, Navy never play. We never play in Annapolis. It's always
okay. So they were DC or somewhere, New York or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Gotcha.
they played San Diego one year too.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's just God. I get Navy just lost its first game. I was last week. I was all over Navy and North Texas. I thought they were gonna go off, right? And one of my my best look in that game, I thought, was both teams to go over 30. North Texas got there. Navy didn't. The only reason they didn't is because Blake Horvath turned the freaking ball over 3 times. So they ran for 311 yards. Horvath fumbled in the first half. So North Texas got the ball first, drove down, touchdown, boom, 7-zip right away. Navy, punted on their series. I think they ran 7 or 8 plays. North Texas took the ball, scored again right away. Then it was the next series was Horvath's fumble, and then North Texas scored again. It was 21-zip, like right at the beginning of the second quarter. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, well, we just need Navy to get going here. But it was 24-10 at the end of the half. Navy was never in this game. Horvath threw the 2 picks in the second half, and it was over, right? And they had no chance of getting to 30. But can they do that against Notre Dame? I guess they could. Their offense it's hard to stop. Like I said, they still ran for 311 yards against North Texas, and North Texas defense has improved a lot from last year. So it's not like they're going up against a shitty defense. And Notre Dame has they got some of their dudes back, so they've been playing better defensively as of late. But if Blake Horvath does what he did last week, and then does what he did last year in the Notre Dame game, then Navy's screwed, because Horvath turned the ball over 3 times last year against Notre Dame too. And then as a team, Navy had 6 turnovers. And that's Notre Dame scored 51 points. So, if they don't turn the ball over, can they beat them? No, I don't think so. But do I think Notre Dame is going to cover by they're going to cover 26.5? They could. They did last year. They did the year before too, I believe. But for me, I can't get there yet. But what I can get to is I guarantee you Notre Dame's going to shred Navy through the air, I think, because Navy's weakest part of the defense is the secondary and the pass D. Like they're just not, they're like 115th or something in the country. So if you look at CJ Carr, Notre Dame's pass offense, like I think we forgot about that or just didn't pay attention. Like he's doing really well. I think way back early in the season we talked about how he would, he'll struggle kind of a little bit, getting his legs under him, and then by this time, by later in the season, he should be whatever, and he is. He's playing fantastic, and their pass offense is top 20 in the country, 275-ish yards per game. The one thing I would look at, it's hard. We're talking about this on Wednesday. There's not a lot of player prop markets that are open yet. A lot of the college props don't get put out there till maybe Thursday at the earliest. I did see CJ Carr's passing yards prop 240.5, but it's underdog. If you guys don't know, underdog's a fantasy deal, and you got underdog and some of those what's the other one, prize picks, shit like that. They'll, if you can play those, that's fine. If you can get in and if you have an account, great. But at a traditional sports book, I would imagine his prop's going to be about 8 to 10, maybe 12 yards higher than that. But even at 250 or so, I still like it because I think he can just have a day. The only reason he wouldn't go over, say 250 yards is just it would be like the Purdue game where, he only needed to throw the ball 10 or 12 times just because they had such great success, in the return game and, running the ball. So CJ Carr pass yards, I'm looking at that right now. And then the other thing is just the anytime touchdowns. If you guys have played Jeremiah Love, I remember at the beginning of the season, I said I would play Love anytime touchdown until, told me not to early in the season because, anytime touchdown for Jeremiah Love in this game, minus 1,000.
Probably, yeah.
It is. DraftKings is minus 1,000 already. So Jadarian Price is minus 285, which, that's not great either. But recently what I've done is I've played them together. I parlayed both of them, and they've actually scored. Both guys have scored together in the same game. I think 6 out of have they played 8 games? I think it was 6 out of 8, 7 out of 9.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, there's only 2 where they didn't each score together, I believe. So you can parlay them together. And I estimated if you parlay them together based on the odds that are available now, you're probably still looking at minus 200, minus 195, which isn't great either. So I might not get to an anytime touchdown, but I might get to a first touchdown. So you look back at the Navy games just to see, who scored first. And Notre Dame scored first in the last 4 games. Riley Leonard scored the first touchdown last year, 1-yard run. And then the 3 previous years, it was a running back, either on a run or, catching a pass. So you can get Jeremiah Love, first touchdown, plus 250, Price, plus 450, Carr, plus 1,500. I might sprinkle a little bit on each. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. We'll see, because I feel like one of those guys is going to score first, Right now, I'm not on side or a total. It's a prop for me right now.
All right, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna take a lean on this one. Am I gonna play this one? I don't know. I really don't. There's a lot of points. There's a lot of points to be taken on this one. It's very aggressive, but like normally in those aggressive lines, which I have done in the past, is I'm just taking Notre Dame. Every time it just keeps going up, there's gonna be telling you something here because everybody. I think the perception is you see a 7-1 team that's a 26.5 point dog. You just take the plus, right?
Yeah.
I don't think this is the time to do it, especially Notre Dame at night. But you mentioned, I mean, Navy runs the ball 76% of the time. They're ranked second in the country, probably to somebody like Army or Air Force or somebody, right? But you got a stout defense that knows how to stop the run. And they have the playbook on how to stop the triple option. They see it every year. Sometimes they see it twice, even 3 times a year. It has happened that way. They're 9th in opposing rush play percentage. Not a lot of teams want to run the ball against them. They're 10th in opposing rush yards per carry. They only give up 2.8 yards per carry. And they're 11th in opposing rush yards per game. And then you have this offense. You mentioned it, run and pass, but they can pass the ball when they want to. I mean, and you're going against a Navy defense that is ranked 97th in opposing pass completion percentage. They're 111th in opposing pass yards per play and 160th in the country in opposing pass yards per game. And you mentioned some props in here, and I think you mentioned a lot of the run props. I think you can look towards the pass props on this one for guys that can score touchdowns. And I would look for a guy like Will Paulding. Will Paulding leads the receivers in touchdowns right now, and his targets keep going up. So there's some trust factor that CJ Carr has with him, especially when it's time to score. And that guy can score. I don't know what you can get on him for a prop as far as anytime touchdown, but he's a guy I would look at the receiving core and maybe lean towards Jordan Faison. Faison hasn't really been a good tight end, like a TD target per se, but against this team that can give up a lot of passing touchdowns, I remember watching him against Air Force. Air Force hit some long ones. Maybe Malachi Fields could have a breakout game too. He has 3 touchdowns on the year. So there's a lot of ways to maybe sprinkle this in the prop market. But for me, I'm looking at last year's line at 14 on a neutral field, and now it's up to 26.5 the next year. I mean, Navy really hasn't been the covering team at all. 0-5 ATS last 5 games. When Notre Dame is a favorite of 20 or more this year, the average margin of victory is 23 points. It's just slightly under. So it's only a lean on this one. I just think that this defense is not going to make the stops. Where Notre Dame is going to make the stops because it's assignment football, and Coach Freeman knows how to stop this team, and he's done it every single time he's been the head coach at Notre Dame. It could be a disaster there for Navy going into this game. At least I hope so, because they got Pittsburgh next week, and that's going to be very tough. Yeah, I lean towards Notre Dame. Not an official play, though. Minus 26.5. All right, we broke down the top 25 plays. Now we got to get into some of the nitty gritty, but before that, we got to like and subscribe to the channel as you're watching this video right now on the J Cavalier channel. Player performance college football is where it sits right now. That's why you have to hit the like button if you're watching this video. It just takes you a little, take your mouse go here and hit click. It goes like this. It's a thumb that goes like this. You hit the click. Then drop a comment as well if you got some plays that you want to drop in there, or just tell us that we suck, or just tell us that we're good at shit. Whatever you want to do. We accept all types of constructive criticism and praise. All right, we're going to give Coach his props on another Middle Service Academy game. He brings them every week, and we got to go with it. Air Force is going against San Jose State. This should be an electric one. I believe it is a late game that is going to be played here with 2 teams that, well, they can score points. I can say that. And I think Coach has a take on this game. What do you think, Coach?
I got numerous takes on this thing. God. Air Force. Wow. You mentioned, Navy and running the football, and they were number 2 in the country. Number 1 would be Air Force. 280-ish per game on the ground. But the thing is, Air Force, I mentioned this last week when we talked about them. Troy Calhoun, their head coach, is, he's actually not a true option guy. He's more of a modern kind of spread offense guy. But they throw the ball pretty well for a service academy. So they can do a lot. They've actually averaged, 33, 34 points a game. They can score. And they've done that. And they should be able to throw up a few points against the San Jose State defense that not that great. Now, the problem is San Jose State is not very good against the pass. Their run defense isn't bad. They're actually top 40. I think they're 37th in the country against the run. So they may be able to, slow down Air Force's running game. And that would be one of the reasons why I would lean towards San Jose State actually covering the spread. The line opened at 2.5. I saw 4.5. I think I saw 5.5 in a couple books too. So, that's telling you something. Plus the fact that Air Force is awful on the road. They haven't won a road game yet. I think they covered. They're 0-3 straight up. I think they did cover 2 of those, but not a great team on the road. They're actually 2-5 against the spread last 7 games. So where they're going to have problems is defensively. Air Force is just, these service academies. I think I mentioned it last week how, they're usually really good on defense because, defense really doesn't take a lot of talent to play defense. If you can get guys to line up right, carry out their initial technique, stance, alignment, start, that kind of thing. And then if they're just relentless in their pursuit, and if they hustle, like, that's 9/10 of the battle playing defense. So the Air Force just doesn't have it for some reason this year. They are ranked near the bottom of the nation in points allowed per game. To give up 35 points, over 35 points a game. So you can't beat many teams when you give up that many. Last week was just kind of an anomaly. And I think I mentioned it. I don't know. I might have mentioned it to you, Gunz, how when the two service academies play each other, they're just so familiar with their offenses that, they know how to defend each other. And it just they just go back and forth. And it's usually a defensive battle. I didn't think that was going to happen last week, but it did, and it ended up 20-17 or whatever it was. And Air Force lost. But this week, they're playing a team, and it's funny. They're playing the ex-Navy head coach, Ken Niamatala, blah, 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 whatever however you say his name. San Jose State is an air raid team. They will throw the ball every snap if you let them. But they'll try and keep you honest. But Walker Eget, probably is a name nobody knows, but I think he's leading the country in passing yards. But Air Force pass defense, 132nd in the nation. Like, if you want to throw against somebody and get some yards, well, Air Force is the team to do it. They'll give up 281, 282 yards a game. They are horrible on third down. I think they're 133rd on third down. They are bad in the red zone. And those are things, when you're bad on third down, you extend drives, you let teams get into the red zone. When you're bad in the red zone, teams score, and they score touchdowns. And, of course, that means that, they can cover 5.5-point spreads, and they can do things like go over their team total. But I think both teams can score here. So I'll give you a couple of picks. I actually like San Jose State minus the 5.5. The total opened at 64.5, which is high. And now it's already 67.5. Don't be surprised if this thing gets to 70, because this could be one of those, 44 to 38 type games. I would look at, and I did not look at the odds for this yet, but I would look at the DraftKings game props and check out both teams to score. I'm going to bet that you're going to find, probably your best bet's probably going to be both teams to score 30, which, this is a week where both teams can get there. And then the other one, probably the one I like best, and like I said about player props, some of these markets aren't really open yet, but Walker Eget, you got to check out his pass yards prop. If it's under 300, you're taking it, because he's going to throw for at least 3 bills, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at that game. You got look at what the total was last year to now. I think it doubled. It was
last year. Yeah, last year it was 44.5, I think.
Yeah, now it's in the
20 points higher. God.
Yeah, that game was like 19 to, it was like 17-7 or something like that, or it was like a low scoring game. So yeah, it's correlating to the over 100%. And yeah, that team I think is ranked in the top. I think San Jose State's ranked in the top 5 in pass play percentage. They pass it like 65% of the time. Yep. It's insane. They pass it a lot. All right, let's get to some of the Conference USA, baby. Let's go to FIU and Middle Tennessee State. Yeah, I'm getting into the gross stuff. All right, Johnny Red Floyd Stadium in Murfreesboro. Yeah, I can't say that, Tennessee. Who cares? This game is about betting, folks. And I love Middle Tennessee State. This team is 1-7 straight up on the year. They're off another short loss, and this team is on the precipice of winning a conference game. Middle Tennessee State, like I said, 1-7 on the year, but they've done very well versus conference opponent. They only have a -4 point differential, plus 29 net yard average. They actually win the yardage battle on average. -1 turnover ratio. Last 4 games, lost by 8, lost by 3, lost by 3, lost by 3. That's how this team is just on the precipice of winning. They could pass the ball pretty well, too. They average 272 yards per game versus conference opponents, and their defense actually holds opponents to 3 yards per carry on the ground. Then you got to look at FIU. I just don't think they performed very well in the last 4 weeks. They have a -12 point differential, -32 net yard average. They give up 434 yards of total offense to their opponents. They're 1-3 straight up and ATS in that span. Now, Middle Tennessee State is 5-1 straight up in their last 6 versus FIU, but they lost last year. 35-34. They were 9-point road dogs in that spot. Now you're seeing them here right around either, it depends on what book you get it at. They're like a +1, +1.5. Sometimes some books may have it here at like -1, 1.5. It's kind of bouncing back and forth. And I just think Middle Tennessee State is just due for a win. And I'm going to keep playing Middle Tennessee State, whatever number you give me, until they win a game. Because they've been covering spreads for me as well. Doesn't matter what the number's been. But this is basically a money line play. So I'm playing with a little bit of fire, but I think Middle Tennessee State gets it done here. So give it to me on the money line. That's the way I'm playing that Conference USA game. All right, let's go to the next game here. Let's go into ACC action with Stanford and UNC. Of course, coach has got to take. Is he cheering for Bill Belichick or is he cheering for Andrew Luck? And can't remember who the coach is there anymore. Interim, old guy. But anyways, what did you say?
Frank Reich.
Frank Reich. There we go. I had it on the tip of my tongue there. But yeah, this should be an electric game in Chapel Hill. I'll pass it to you, Coach. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I should have had the UNC hat. I think I lit it on fire though. But
I don't. Anyway. I won't own one. I'm a Duke fan.
yeah. I started. What was it? In the spring. I'm an NC fan because my QB's playing there, and of course the shit show happened, and now they got Gio Lopez. But I'll give them credit. So a couple weeks ago, UNC went to Cal, played out west on a Friday night, and I backed UNC to cover. They were 8.5-point underdogs, I believe. And they went to Cal, and they played really well defensively. They fumbled the ball, 3, 4, 5 times. I can't remember. And they fumbled the ball, obviously, on the last play there and blew what could have been a win. But, they covered that. When they come home the next week, I backed them again. They were 10-point home underdogs against Virginia. And you would have looked on paper and been like, well, Virginia's going to beat shit out of them. Well, that didn't happen. I mean, North Carolina was a 2-point conversion away from beating a ranked opponent. So last week when UNC was going to what I call the Carrier Dome, whatever the hell it's named now up in Syracuse, I was like, hey, this is the perfect spot for Belichick and UNC to get a win. And I backed them, and they did, 27-10. So I think they're starting to turn the corner. And the reason I like them in this game is you're getting Stanford that's got to travel to the east. Like this ACC travel, East Coast to West Coast, and vice versa. It just really, I've talked about it before. Like as a player, you don't think it's a big deal, but for us, like we look at it and it turns out that in fact it is kind of a big deal. So Stanford has played, let's see, they went to BYU. That's not a long trip, but it is a time zone. And they lost 27-3. They only scored 3 points there. Their next furthest trip was at SMU. They put up 10 points and got their ass kicked 34-10. Then they went to, it's either Miami or Virginia. One of the two was the farther trip. They go to Virginia, they lose 48-20, and they go to Miami and they put up 7 points after getting crushed 42-7. So they got issues. Stanford played a home game where I backed Stanford against Florida State. And I just had them to cover, but they ended up winning the game. They beat Florida State at home. Not that Florida State's tremendous or anything, but this East Coast West Coast thing, like I said, it's real. So I feel like this is another spot where North Carolina is going to excel. They've been playing great defense. They've given up 21, then they gave up 17, then they gave up 10. Belichick's a defensive guy. I think he's going to dial it up. They're going to play well at home. I'm not a fan of Gio Lopez. I don't like, the short left-handed midget quarterbacks. But I think he's been playing well enough that UNC gets it done. And I've seen 7.5 on this. I've also seen 7s. So I'm gonna, if it's me, I'm gonna do my best to find a UNC -7.
Yeah, I mean, I think you sold me on that one. That was one that I've just been avoiding Bill Belichick altogether, and I need to go back and look at his stats. I think you may be on the right path on that one. It makes perfect sense to me. And mind you, you mentioned some of the road games on this one. Yeah, they get absolutely crushed every time they travel. And also, keep in mind, a lot of look ahead spots. They got to go play Cal next week, and then they got Notre Dame on deck, 2 home games back to back. So maybe this game doesn't mean anything to them.
Yep.
They may get smoked here.
Yeah,
I like that.
The Cal game's a big rivalry game too, so you're looking ahead to that, and then
and then you got a big rivalry game again.
Yep,
back to back. Makes perfect sense to me. I would tail that one. Let's go to a little bit of Sun Belt action. We call it the Gun Belt here. Cease and desist. We call it the Sun Belt, and I'm going to be wearing the JMU hat that I haven't put on in a long time. This team is absolutely cooking. And they're going to Jones C. Edwards Stadium in Huntington, West Virginia, 12 p.m. Saturday. And yes, I am aware it is the anniversary of the plane crash, where basically virtually it's coming up. I think it's like a day or two or something like that. But this is the last home game before that happens. But I don't care. JMU has a grudge. They have a gripe going into this game. I'll talk about that in a second. But let's talk about the stats here. JMU run oriented. They're 8th in the country in rush play percentage. They're 12th in rushing yards per game, and they're 8th in rushing yards per game. They could pass the ball as well. Don't get me wrong. But we look at the Marshall defense. They've shown some weaknesses at stopping the run. 264 yards and 5.7 yards per carry given up to ULL, Louisiana, as they call it, right? The Raging Cajun. 173 rushing yards and 4.6 yards per carry given up to Old Dominion. 214 rushing yards and 4.8 yards per carry given up to Coastal Carolina. Marshall, on the other side, they're running offense. They're 14th in rush play percentage. They're 41st in rushing yards per carry, and they're 18th in the country in rushing yards per game. But they're going against a JMU defense that is very good against the run. They're 7th in the country in opposing rush yards per game, and they're 9th in the country in opposing rush yards per carry. Good luck stopping that Chesney defense. Then last year, these two teams met. Marshall upset JMU 35-33. They were 3.5-point road dogs in that situation. Now you're seeing JMU on the road as a double-digit favorite, sitting here at 13.5. The line swinging the wrong direction here, folks. JMU is also 3-1 ATS on the road and 3-1 to the under this season. And the home team, every time these two teams have played, is 0-3 straight up in ATS last 3 meetings. I think JMU is in a perfect spot. They want to go to the Gun Belt Championship, which they missed out last year off back-to-back conference losses that kicked them out. So JMU's the spot here, folks. Give me JMU minus 13.5 against a Marshall team that is not the same Marshall team. That Marshall team went to Southern Miss. So that's how I'm playing that game, and we goddamn did it. We went through the entire board of every single college football game, top 25, gave you your best 4, and then we gave you a few outliers. If you ain't watching this channel, if you're watching this channel right now, you got to hit the like and subscribe button. You got to get to the comment section. You got to support the J Cavalier channel and make sure you support us on Instagram. Why lose guns? Lose coach. And go check out our telegrams. Coach, tell them what you got going on Telegram right now for deals.
Yeah, the special right now, college basketball just started. I put out, 5 or 6 picks, hit them all but one so far. I know Gunz is off to a great start, college basketball too. So, we've got it all here. We're NFL, college football, college basketball. We're done with MLB now, of course, but I've got an all sports deal. You get every pick I make, max bet, best bet, all sports, and it's from now through the end of the year, through the picks on December 31st, 2025. It's $149. All picks, all sports, till the end of the year. $149 from Coach Rick. Get it while it's hot.
Yeah, and I appreciate the bump you guys gave me on Telegram. I think I gained 1.2K followers on Telegram the last week. I don't know how that happened. You guys have just been sniffing the gun, drinking it up, and make sure. And believe me, I don't put poison in my Kool-Aid like some of these.
The Reverend.
Yeah, the Reverend.
Jim
we don't.
Jones.
Yeah, we're not doing the Jim Jones thing on some obscure island in the 70s.
No.
You guys are sniffing the right Kool-Aid. You're over at Telegram, and for a special. Listen, I'm giving my college basketball plays free for a week because college basketball is just starting. We're just sniffing the stats a little bit. I'm 7-1 on the free picks right now, and then I'm gonna give you plays all the way up to Sunday if I see some looks. Now Monday starts. We're gonna be giving give the Gunz All Picks package. Gunz All Picks package is gonna come out. That includes college football. That includes college basketball. That includes every single pick of you want to do the year, the month, the week. We will have packages for that you'll get every pick in all the sports that I cap. That is going to be a deal. I will keep you posted on what's going to be going on with that, but that comes out on Monday, so look out for that. And also, you can check out the All Elite deal for $75 for the week, or you can sign up for VIP $150 for the month, or you can get the season, which I'll put back out again for $299, and that will give you all my football plays all the way through the Super Bowl. That's right, and college football playoff as well.
Yes.
So check that out on my Telegram. That's gonna do it here, baby. College football week 11. Let's cash some tickets and dominate. Gonna be doing it here. Coach Rick and Gunz Picks, and just check us out on all social media platforms. But that's gonna do it. Week 11. I am Gunz Picks. That is Coach Rick. Let's cash some tickets. Let's dominate the board. And as always, Coach.
Giddy up.
And let's keep dancing. Bye-bye.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last